Ladies and boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, we're going to be talking about the one and only Zebec network. Now, listen, we have been covering this coin consistently, I would say roughly for a month and a half, maybe even 2 months. All right, maybe even 2 months. Um, this project I found out about it, did some research, loved the technical analysis, right? Us going sideways for practically a year was beautiful to see. And then, of course, when we had the breakout near the end of April, for me, that was like, okay, yeah, this is going to be going even further and further up. Let me really dig into this project. Boom, got in on the 10th of May, which was right over here on this nice Saturday. Got in right over here somewhere, right? Sure, went a little bit lower, but I don't care about that extra 2 or 3% this way or that way too much. Boom, shot up in price. We called this sells somewhere over here, right? We called it. It was absolutely beautiful. It was absolutely stunning. If I pull something out on the side, I can show you guys in just 1 second, right? But we can see, right? Ever since then, Zebec network has been just selling off and going sideways, which is something that was expected, right? We called it out before, right? Even just over here, right? A month ago, we are talking about, we can see the price action, right? Price action was when we were literally uh, right over in this area, right? Right over in this area. Sure, there was a little final fake out for like 1 day, but it doesn't really matter, right? We practically called the top as well. So you know what? Right? Just putting it out there because I know a lot of people just say stuff to say stuff, but I truly do believe technical analysis is king when it comes to almost anything, right? Almost anything. I like news, I like this, but I, at the end of the day, believe that news, only the top 1% of news is more relevant than technical analysis. That is just my view on the markets personally, right? So we could see, right, if we go boom, right, sold 70% of my ZBEC looking to flip as I'm averaging about 3.5x in profit as we speak, right? So boom, 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 very, very nice. Listen, right, let's break things down. Okay, let's break things down. So we know, if you've been listening to these videos for a while, I've practically been saying there has been zero confirmation that ZBEC network has had any reversals, right? Zero. There's been times where it bounced off certain areas, like for example, this support when it was relevant, and then of course when we also did initially tap off of the last high, right? The last high, boom, right? We tapped off here, we sold off. Then we had a nice pump, but the pump only was 1 day. Okay, the pump was only 1 day, and then we sold off the next few days. And in fact, despite Monday starting so strong last week and it looking promising, this is why I always wait for weekly candles to close because Monday looked promising, but the next few days sold off. And by the end of that week, it was just screaming, oh, we are going to go further down, right? We are going to go further down. And look, right? It is normal for a coin to retrace, right? It is normal for a coin to retrace after it's had a rally. Okay, that is always expected. I know some people are calling this a scam because it's selling off. Listen, people will call this a scam 24/7. They will call any other crypto a scam 24/7. And then the moment it starts dropping, right? They're like, "Oh, look, haha, I told you," even though despite, me calling it a scam and it going up, 50x, I was right because it's selling off now, right? This is just losers. Losers, losers, losers. All right, that's just what it is. All noise, all noise. Obviously, always do your own research. If someone calls a scam for every single coin, they're bound to be right. Even a clock, you know, even a clock is even a broken clock, ladies and gentlemen, is still going to be right. Um, right? Even a broken clock is still going to be right at one point. So, that's the thing, right? That's the thing. All right. Just make sure you're careful with who you're listening to. Well, look, let's dive into the lower time frame, right? We can see that recently we have dropped below this zone, right? We were losing momentum, dropped below it, boom, had a very, very nice sell off. And to be honest, I kind of expect this momentum to continue a little bit more, but there could be some buying opportunities very, very soon. Now, if you just asked me and you said, well, do you think it's okay for me to buy right now? And I would say, well, first of all, I'm not a financial advisor. But the second thing is objectively, yeah, objectively, buying around this price in the long term, this is good, right? We bring out something like Coin Market Cap and we go to something like Zebec Network, right? Boom. We can see that we are at 200 pretty much million market cap. Okay. 30 million volume in the last 24 hours. And you know me, I do believe this coin will be hitting that 10 to 12 cents, around that 10 billion market cap. So if that's the case, right, then I do believe you could get a 50x roughly from here, potentially, right? Potentially 50x, right? That's the thing, people. That's the thing. So that's personally my opinion. That's personally how I think how high this coin will go, based off a reasonable probability and during its peak, right? But at the end of the day, only time will tell. Overall, I'm still super, super high on this project. We still have some rumors and stuff surrounding XRP and this coin, right? Obviously, a big partnership, them collaborating, them becoming not literally like one, but part of a team would be game changing, right? Would be game changing considering that something like XRP is, you know, extremely high up, 133 billion market cap. So even if we had, the crazy thing is, even if we had just like 5% of the pie, okay, we would still make massive gains. That is the reality. We would still make massive gains. We would still make like 25x from here. So, I'm super optimistic personally for this project. I will be personally reinvesting, right? I personally will be reinvesting at certain price points. Overall, right, in terms of the market and the way it's correcting, it is doing it very, very well, right? It is doing it very, very well. We are filling up this imbalance right over here, right? Usually when something pumps strongly, it usually just dumps. Price usually just mirrors it, right? And if we go from the all-time high to, let's just say, even the bottoms, we are almost down 78%, which is a good fundamental retest. And of course, if you want to count, I guess, from the relevant point of when the rally started, you could argue and put the Fibonacci tool somewhere here and say that, we are roughly down 85% from when it really started to have its expansion past this zone. So with this Fibonacci tool, it's a little bit perspective, right? It's a little bit perspective. Obviously, you still have to put it in great zones, but overall, you can see, right? If you take it from the perspective of when it really started to pump, it's down right roughly 85%. If you take it from like literally the bottoms, then we're almost at 78%. But overall, it is still looking very, very solid, like a very nice pullback, right? When we look at something like the 3-month, right, it's not surprising that we are selling off considering that we just had a nice 3-month. Obviously, 6-month is too irrelevant in my opinion, even though technically we are starting it, right? We are starting it. Overall, right? Overall, I am still super, super optimistic about this coin. I do believe it will do well. I will definitely continue to cover it as long as you guys want me to, right? We could either do daily, maybe two, every second day, maybe 4 to 5 times a week. We'll see. We'll see. Obviously, the more I cover it, the less the less change there will be in between videos, right? Because there's only so much you can cover when you start covering coin consistently, right? In terms of news, in terms of technical analysis, right? Even if I did one once a day, or one once a day, there's only 20 to 24 hours of new data representing, right? Getting presented on the chart. So that's the thing. So it's up to you guys. Up to you guys. I don't mind doing this a few times a week. But yeah, ultimately, I'm still very bullish on Zebec Network. I will definitely be looking to be sniping some opportunities. But yeah, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.